Hello again, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to OmniTestingConf. In this session, you'll hear from Nicolas Rica, who is a product manager here at Xray. Today, he'll introduce you to native quality management. This is a new holistic approach that naturally embeds the test management process into the development workflow. That way, teams work side by side to consistently release quality software together. Don't forget that during the talk, you can ask questions in the chat or on the Q&A tab on the right side panel. And after the presentation, we'll have a 15-minute Q&A where Nicholas will answer all of your questions. And with that, I'll pass the word over to Nicholas.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicolas. I'm a product manager working at Xray, and today I want to share with you a presentation on a very interesting topic, native quality assurance with Jira and Xray. Today we're going to be focusing essentially in this topic at hand. So with no further delay, let's have a quick overview why we say Xray is a native quality assurance solution with Jira. So Xray is an application that can be found in the Jira marketplace. Xray becomes a part of your Jira ecosystem. Of course, you need Jira to be your project management tool or your application lifecycle management platform in your organization. After that, you can go to the Jira marketplace. And if you're using Jira Cloud, you can install Xray Cloud. If you're using Jira Server or Jira Data Center, you can use Xray Server. There is integration between requirements, tests, and defects all in one place. And Xray also offers amazing reporting capabilities and report generation. We're going to see that in a few minutes. Why native? Simple reasons. Xray is associated with the place of your project birth and development. This is as long as you're using Jira as your project management tool, of course. The Xray approach to dealing with activities and items, it's fully aligned with the Jira approach. Also, Xray will not get in your way, no matter what processes or what software development life cycle your team or organization adopts while using Jira. Closing the gap. This is a very important goal that Xray has, and it's doing pretty good in achieving it. So Xray generates a virtuous circle of collaboration. There is interaction between team members, and this interaction starts as soon as a requirement is shared with them. QA engineers will come up with questions, comments, and suggestions almost immediately after receiving requirements. The distance between requirements and tests for validating them is reduced drastically. One of the reasons for it is that QA engineers don't need to jump from Jira to a separated test case management tool to look for existing test cases that needs to be updated or that needs to be deprecated to create new ones, or perhaps there are no test cases at all and they need to create test cases for a new requirement. They don't need to be switching between different tools and to try to link one item from one platform to a different item in Jira. No, they have everything in one place. Everything is in Jira and everything is in Xray, which is fully integrated within the Jira ecosystem. Agile oriented, just a quick mention to this. As you know, the Agile Manifesto has 12 principles. We are not going to get into that, but it has 4 essential values. And I think that Xray aligns perfectly with these values. So if you're using any Agile methodology for your software development activities, Xray will come in very handy for you to achieve your goals. Individuals and interactions are at the center of Xray because Xray aims to generate this permanent collaboration between quality, dev, and also product to check if the requirements that were handed off are up to date and are what the customer, either internal or external, is expecting from the software development team. You're going to be able to see information in real time on a daily basis about the status of in terms of quality of every item under development. You can aim for customer collaboration because of the simplified view that Xray offers when you go to the agile board in Jira, and you can take a look at how every product increment or every story, every requirement is doing. And this will allow for better decision making. This will give a better context, a better sense on where we at every moment, and it will help stakeholders to prioritize and to be more strategic with data based on data, real data, in terms of quality, to make decisions while the software is being developed. So moving on, how it works? Well, quality from start to finish. This is a concept that's very inherent to Xray. There is a practical perspective to it. You will see that in the demos that we may do in the near future, you will see how the entire workflow of creating tests, preconditions, different types of tests as well. It's very practical, very pragmatic approach. Also, Xray aims to bring quality not only in product but also in the process in a daily basis. You can, in every daily meeting you have, in every stand-up meeting you have, if you're following a Scrum approach, for example, you will be able to get information and status in terms of quality for every item under development. So with Xray, everything is in one place, is embedded in Jira. Every Xray item is treated as an issue type. Examples of these are tests, test plans, test executions, and preconditions. As I explained a couple of minutes ago, there is no more context switching between a test case management tool and Jira. No, because everything is in one place. You have flexible organization. You can go to the test repository and have a hierarchical view in which you can see all the folders and subfolders containing different tests for different components, or you can have a flat view that presents the same information with a different approach. Last but not least, Xray fosters collaboration between dev, QA, and product. Quality lifecycle. This is the mission of Xray, is the goal of changing the concept of software development lifecycle into software quality lifecycle. And this is not just playing with semantics. This is the reality of bringing the ability of generating value while implementing quality software with QA and dev and, of course, product working together. So upon creating new requirements, you'll be getting feedback from Xray saying if you have or don't have coverage for those requirements. You will have test coverage visibility. You will have reporting tools, gadgets for adding to your customized dashboards, and the document generator, which is a feature we are going to talk about in a few seconds. And you have integration with Exporter, which is a different app from Xray that can be found also in the Jira Marketplace. If you include Exporter to Xray and to Jira, you will take your reporting capabilities to the next level, adding customized templates. You can generate Word documents, Excel documents, PDF, and distribute that among the entire organization you are within, or all the stakeholders involved in the project. Now, some benefits I want to highlight. What can Xray bring to the table? Number one, there is an emphasis on the idea of quality from the starting point. Number two, delivering products generated with applied quality processes. And credibility. This is very important today. Increase credibility, building trust with quality outcomes and clear quality status visibility. As you may know, credibility has become the intangible value asset that every company is looking forward when doing business, between a software company offering software engineering services or even between internal teams for our organization. Now, let's take a look at how Xray allows us to keep track of our product items quality. This is a screenshot of the standard Jira Agile board. The only difference is Xray is installed in this Jira instance. So take a look at these labels here. This is showing, okay, for this item, you don't have coverage, any coverage at all. There are no test cases for this item. We are getting to know this real time immediately when we go to our Agile board. Now, for this case, in these different requirements, we can see, okay, there is coverage, but the thing is, they have not been executed yet. The associated test cases have not been executed. In this case, we can see that there is coverage and the test cases have been executed and they have passed the test. So moving on to the reporting capabilities, I want to highlight three main capabilities that Xray brings to the table in terms of reporting. And this is one of the most important features that Xray have. I have to say, most or several potential clients are jumping ships from other products into Xray, mostly because of the huge capabilities that Xray brings to the table in terms of building reports. You have built-in reports. I'm going to share just one of them. There are like 8 built-in reports. This is a traceability report that allows you to see from the requirement all the way to the reported defects, what is the quality status of that requirement. Now let's take a look at the built-in gadgets. You can add these gadgets to your personalized dashboards in Jira. This is the overall test coverage. It allows you to know, okay, what is the coverage for our sprint backlog at this time, and you will know how much coverage you do have for different items, which have passed, which have failed, what are still pending of executing, and how many items do you have without any coverage at all. And do you have also the document generator, which is a feature that is part of the Xray application that allows you to create customized reports based on templates that you can upload to Xray and generate Word or Excel files that you can distribute through your entire organization. Now, I want to share with you a brief demo on Xray Server. This is going to be a pretty basic workflow, a pretty basic scenario in which we are going to start from a requirement. In this case, it will be a story. And then we will see how can we create a test or several tests associated to that requirement, and how can we execute that test. We are going to see what's within the entire workflow of creating a test case, and also how can we execute that test. And the most important thing to me to share with you today is to see how it impacts the Jira Agile board once you have defined if a requirement has test coverage, if it doesn't, if it has test coverage but the tests have not been executed yet, if they have been executed and they have passed or they have failed. I want to share that with you. That's a pretty cool value that Xray brings to your Jira Agile board, because you can see immediately let's put an example, on your stand-up meetings, on your daily meetings, you can go to the Jira Agile board and see and have full visibility on what's the quality status for each one of your items that you want to test. But before getting into that, I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, it's important to understand that in order for us to have a full-fledged demo of Xray Server, for example, we may need a few minutes, not just 10 or 15 minutes. It may take at least 1 hour because there are so many aspects to take into consideration. There are so many features. Um, for example, configuring Xray, you need to know that in order for you to configure Xray, you will need administration permissions and you will need to go through the process of issue type mapping, and you will need to define what issue types are to be considered as requirements. These are the issue types that will need testing coverage. These are the issue types that will need for you to create tests to ensure the quality of these items under development. And also you will need to define defect issue types as well. In second place, you also need to enable Xray in your projects. And there are two scenarios generally for this. One is enabling Xray, the Xray app for already existing projects in your Jira instance. You may already have projects in Jira, and you're going to bring Xray into that project, and you're going to do the onboarding. A whole new list of issue types will appear in your workflow, and you need to be able to configure that. Also, you can work starting with a project from scratch that has Xray enabled from the very starting point. And you will have both the standard issue types from Jira and the Xray issue types. Just to name a few, a standard issue type is, for example, a story, an epic, a task. An Xray issue type is a test, a precondition, a test plan, a test set, so on and so forth. Now, there is one more thing that I like to mention. There are different ways of working with Xray. There are companies, and even within the same company, you may have different development teams working in different ways. This is due to this can be happening because of a wide variety of reasons. But the important thing is to take into consideration that there are some QA managers or QA directors that have a preference for keeping their requirements separated from the testing project. So if you're looking forward to use Xray as a standalone solution that will allow you to have all your tests separated from the requirements, you can create a new Jira project with Xray, and you will have all your tests there, all your test sets, which is a way to group in different tests that have something in common. You can have all your test plans and your test executions there. And in a different project, you can have, in a different Jira project, you can have everything that's associated to requirements. That's only requirements. That's a typical way of working when you have different platforms for different things. For example, you have Jira as an application lifecycle management platform, and you have, for example, TestLink as your test case management tool. But there is another way, a different way, that is basically having everything in one place, all in one, right? You can have Xray and Jira working together in the same project, and in that way, you will have all the value of Xray in your software development project, and your Jira issues will be working in sync with your Xray issues as well, and this will allow you to generate great reports, great ways of visualizing the quality status of each one of your items using the gadgets provided by Xray. You can use the document generator from Xray as well. And the possibilities are virtually endless. So you need to decide which strategy you're going to use and you're going to move forward with after onboarding Xray to your company and to your software development team. Now, let's jump right into the workflow of creating a test within a requirement, which is the main difference that we can see between Xray and other platforms, other standalone platforms that are not within the Jira marketplace and that don't have the level of integration that Xray has with Jira, right? Xray is embedded in Jira. In this project that I'm showing you, Xray is fully integrated with Jira, and within the requirement, we already can see that the test coverage is 0. No tests were found testing the requirement. So we are ready to start creating tests for this requirement, right? So we have a story. Let's say I want to create a test for starting putting this requirement under test, right? So there are different ways of assigning tests to this requirement. Let's say we already have existing tests, right? I could go here, click, and I will get this pop-up, this modal window from which I can look for existing tests, and this will return a list of all the existing tests within this project, and I can choose one of these and include it within the tests that are going to be testing this requirement. I have different ways of searching for tests. I can search for test type. There are different test types within Xray. I highly encourage you to go through the documentation for Xray so you can get more knowledge on each one of these. We are going to analyze each one of these in future demos, in a more comprehensive demo. And the other way of searching for tests is using the Jira query language, of course, but that's only one way of adding tests. The other way is adding tests coming from test sets. Test sets can be seen as, you may have seen this concept in other tools like test suites. There is not really an equivalent to test sets because test sets is a way of grouping tests in Xray that's not necessarily in a hierarchical way. It connects tests based on components or a given criteria that you think is the best option for you to get a bunch of tests together. So if I write, let's say I write test here, right? I will get one test set. This test set can contain one or several tests within. In the same way, I have a filter for searching for more test sets, and I can also use the JQL approach for obtaining more test sets. But let's say I want to create a new test. So let's go from here. And I can already see that some fields are already filled in. This is pretty cool because it saves some time and avoid making some mistakes. For example, the project is exactly the same that's in the requirement. The issue type is test. In the summary, we have the same summary that we have in the story, which is the requirement, plus the word test added at the very beginning. In the description, I have exactly the same test. As a user, I want to get my account details. We can, of course, edit this value, updated, or for example, test the user account details, just to give an example. So you have the reporter, you can define the assignee, you can specify a fixed version for it, the priority, components, lots of fields here that are pretty common in Jira as well. Test details, you have the test type. In this case, we are going to use the manual, which is the typical scripted test that's used in functional testing, right? From here, you can start writing the steps for the test case, adding data that may be necessary, expected result, attachments. You can associate existing test sets or create new ones. From here. You can associate existing preconditions or create new ones from here also. Well, you have link issues, test plans, several aspects, but let's create a test from here. And after the page is refreshed, we will see that now we have test coverage, and the test coverage has changed. We no longer see this legend, this label saying there are no tests found for this requirement. No, in this case, we have a test coverage for the following analysis scope, and we have a filter enabled for us to look for different criteria to find tests that are applied to this requirement. For now, the status of this is not run because we have a test that is in, it has never been executed, right? We get to see that here. Now, let's say I want to get into that test and start adding steps, right? So let's add a step. For example, go to the user account profile, account details screen. And the expected result will be the user account detail should be displayed. This is just to give an example. And we can even add attachments here that will help us if we are the ones that are going to be executing this test, or help anyone that's going to be running this test in the future. So let's say I want to add a screenshot, account details, on how the account details looks like, right? So I can add that here. Okay, and I can see here what I just attached to that step, right? This is how the account details screen is supposed to look like. Okay, then I add the step, and I can add more steps also. Second step. The action field is mandatory, but data and expected result are optional. You can also add preconditions here. You can use existing preconditions. As you may have noticed, the models for searching for existing entities is always the same, or at least it looks pretty similar. There is consistency across the entire application for these scenarios. But let's say we want to create a new precondition, which will be a new issue type that's called precondition, right? So precondition, let's say user should be logged in the bookstore application. This is just an example. Let's copy this, paste it here. Reporter, I will assign this to me, and I will create the precondition. Okay, so now we have the step, and we have a precondition there. We can associate these tests to a test set. Let's say I want to create, let's see if there is a test set for account test. Well, let's associate this test with this test set. Add selected. Okay. Okay, now let's say we want to execute this test just for the sake of seeing how it looks like after we have executed the test. Of course, it's interesting to see how we can execute a test, but it's also, I think it will be more interesting once we have executed the test, how it impacts the Jira Agile board for us to get information on the status of a requirement, in this case, a user story. So in order to execute this test, we have also different options. We can use existing test executions or a new test execution. I will create a new one. I add it here. And right now, I'm in the execution screen. And let's take a look for a moment. Let's go to the Jira board. And let's look for this story. So we can see that the story is here. It has coverage because it doesn't say uncovered. It has a yellow label saying not run. This means that we have associated tests with this story, but these tests, either one or multiple tests, they have not been executed yet. So let's go. Let's go to this story and let's go to take a look at this test. It says to do, not run. And here we are in the execution screen. In the execution screen, we can see the execution status, which says to do. This means that the test run, the iteration has not started. We have the pass status, the test has passed. The executing, the test is currently being executed. Fail, the test run has failed. Aborted, the test run was aborted, was stopped. Pending, blocked, failing, but okay. Whatever is displayed here has been already defined by your administrator, by your Jira administrator. The statuses that are shown here are not necessarily the same for all the teams using Xray. So that's something that you will also need to configure. Maybe you will have only to do, past, executing, fail, and blocked, or something like that, and nothing more. It depends on every team, on every project, and on every testing strategy. So let's say we want to execute this. I can click on executing. This means I'm executing this test. I want to share something with you also. In the preconditions, we can open here and we can see user should be logged in the bookstore application. We can see the precondition here. If I click here, I will be redirected to the precondition. Test issue links. If I click here, I can see that this test is associated with this story. Actions, we have the test steps, of course. Go to the user account details screen. We don't have a specific data for this step, and the expected result is the one we entered when we created the steps. Is the user account details should be displayed. Something interesting here is from here we can see the attachment we added while creating this step. If I click here, I will see the account details file that I uploaded, right? And if, let's say, I detected something is not working as expected, this is not working, I can create a defect from here. I can create a defect, I can create a subtask, or I can add defects that are already existing, because there is a possibility that this bug was already reported by a different QA or even by myself in a previous testing round, for calling it somehow. So you can create a new defect from here, and that will be linked to this test execution, and of course it will appear for the entire team to see. You have the activity section in which we are going to see everything that I'm doing here or that anyone is doing in this test execution, in this test run, for being more precise. So let's say that we went through all the steps and everything has passed. So we can click passed. And in this point, we are in an execution status for this test that says that the test has passed, everything is okay. We can return to the test execution. This is the test execution containing the test, and this is passed. And the more interesting thing for me that I want to share with you is to take a look at how this has impacted in the Jira Agile board. I will now look for the story, for the requirement, the original requirement, and I should see that the status has changed from what it was before, that it was looking the not run label. Now it should say okay, right? We are seeing this difference here. Requirement status, okay. Now, if my test would have been a failed one, here I would be seeing not okay, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. There are plenty of things to show, to play with, actually a bunch of features, and there are multiple ways to do the same thing as well, to provide you with several ways of executing and using this tool in the way that suits your team better, and that is the best user experience for each QA engineer working in Xray with Jira as well. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this brief demo, and of course we are going to be having more demos coming in the near future with plenty of more details. Feel free also to reach out to us through any of our communication channels. Again, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Hello, Nicolas. Can you hear me? Yes? I think you might be muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was muted. I'm sorry.
Okay, all good now. Hi,
Now you
Nicolas.
can hear me. Okay, hello.
Thank you for joining us today for the OmniTestingConf
Sure.
and giving this awesome presentation on Xray. We already have a couple of questions here, so let's jump right into them. First one, how are automated tests supported by Xray and how?
Yeah, automated tests are supported. I will give an example. The approach that Xray has taken so far for this is based on the BDD approach, behavior-driven development, in which generally software development teams use the Gherkin language to create specifications. I'm reading our questions. Yeah, to write specifications in a structured language, but that can be understood by all the stakeholders involved in the development of the product. And after that, the software, the QA team, generally the more technical QA engineers, which are members of the software development team, they will implement the way of executing those tests, either with Python, with Java, JavaScript, it depends on which library and which programming language they have chosen for this. Now, what Xray supports so far, at the moment, is just the creation of the Gherkin part of these automated BDD scenarios, to have it there as a repository in case you want to execute them manually. But if we are talking about automated tests, Xray will not trigger your testing automation projects from Xray and from Jira. Generally, this is done using continuous integrations tools, such as I'm gonna name, for example, Jenkins. You will have a continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline there that will have scripts that will take care of executing all these automated test scripts. So what you can do is to connect through the APIs that are provided by Xray. You can connect the results of these automated test executions with the tests that are or that were created in Xray to keep consistency between and mapping between the tests, the Gherkin tests that were written in Xray as a source of truth, and the real execution, the actual execution that took place on a testing environment and that was managed by a continuous integration tool such as Jenkins, just to name one example. In the future, this feature is, as of today, that's the situation. It's planned for the future versions to increase the capabilities of Xray in this sense. Hopefully that answered the question.
Even with the current features, so if you import the results with Jenkins, for example, they will still show up on our reporting and dashboards. So the results are still, you can still grab visibility from a test automation to inside Xray. Is that correct?
Definitely, yeah, sure.
Another question we have, so can we reuse or include test steps between manual
I saw that one.
tests?
This is a very interesting question. We have implemented, and this has been released. The first version of this has been released for the Xray Cloud product, and it's under development for Xray Server. There is a whole new feature that's coming into play within Xray that allows you to create what's called modular tests that will not only allow you to reuse certain steps, but to create entire end-to-end test cases based on entire test cases, or just by picking specific steps that belongs to other tests. So as of right now, this possibility is available in Xray Cloud. In the near future, it will be available in Xray Server as well.
As a follow-up from the last question, also, Christian is asking if you'd suggest to report all automatic tests like JUnit within Xray, even if this ends up in quite a lot of test execution tickets.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get that question. Let me see.
Let me drop it here. So reporting all their results from tests within Xray, if this is something.
Well, I see. Yeah, this an interesting question. And I see Cristiano. I don't know, Cristiano, can you join? Perhaps give me a hand with this.
Hi.
Hello, Cristiano.
Hi, Cristiano.
Hi. Sorry about the lighting. It's just
no problem.
Kind of a sunny day out here. So I would say that yes, you should report all of the automated tests back to Xray, even if you will have a lot of executions associated to it. Like Nicolas was saying, it is important for visibility and to have the source of truth being Xray. You need to have all of the results back there to have the full visibility of everything that is going on. Of course, like Nicolas was saying, you have the possibility to use or not to push or not the results back to Xray. So I will say that yes, you should put everything there, because if you are executing those, it's because you are caring about those results. But if you are just executing those and you don't feel that it's something relevant, you are just, I don't know, developing the tests yet, and you are not looking at the results as go or no go feature for your release, you have the possibility to not send those. So if you are integrating through the API, you can choose what tests you are sending back. But the ultimate answer should be yes, you should send everything back because I believe that you guys are testing your products and those results are relevant to you. So if they are relevant to you, they're relevant for all of your team. And to give that visibility back to all of your team, you need to ingest those back into Xray to have the full visibility of those. So yeah, that's my take on that question.
Thank you, Nicolas. Thank you, Cristiano.
Thank you, Cristiano.
Next one, can tests be loaded in bulk and attached to a specific story? So probably
Sure.
to import tests to
yeah, that's interesting. Actually, the workflow that I tried to show in the demo, it's kind of hidden there. I should have explained this a little bit better, perhaps. So we can do it in a future demo. But basically, you don't need to take tests and attach them into a story, because when you're writing tests, you're going to start from a story. Of course, if you're using the approach of managing your entire project, your entire software development project with Jira and Xray together, as we mentioned at the beginning, there are some teams or organizations that they like to have separated projects for this and use Xray like a stand-alone application and Jira just for the requirements. But in this case, you will start from the story, and within the story, there is a section that says test coverage. And at the beginning, it will say that you don't have coverage at all. And after that, you start creating tests, and you can create several tests for covering all of the acceptance criteria and also different combinations of scenarios for all the acceptance criteria within a story. So there is no need for you to take tests from one place, copy them, and trying to import them into a requirement, because the tests will be within in terms of the UI, the presentation of the information, they will appear there within the requirement. Let's say requirement is a story in this case.
We're on time, so the next talk starts in about 5 minutes. But
Okay.
I would say that if you're available, and the rest of the team, I know they are as well, we can answer the remaining questions through the event chat. So if within the audience there's additional questions, please make them, and we'll try to answer as much as we can today during the event. If not, we'll send a follow-up email with all that information. Again, Nicolas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.